Hello and welcome to another episode of Junior Fisherman. In this episode, I'm going to be telling you how to quickly find fish in a new body of water or in a body of water that you have already fished. If you're having trouble finding fish, which we all do, I know for me that is a very difficult thing, is simply finding fish. But once you learn about it a little more, it actually is not that hard. So there are several key tips that can help you find fish a lot faster and help you find fish more effectively. 3 tips that I have to help you find fish fast and be able to consistently find fish in a body of water. The first tip is cover water. A lot of guys usually they go out there and they go into a cove and they fish that cove the whole time. That's great if there's fish there. If you have electronics, or if you fish before you know that cove usually produces, great. Otherwise, if you don't really know where the fish are going to be or what they're really going to be doing, then cover water. Put on a crankbait, a swim jig, or whatever your favorite moving style bait is that produces well for you. On one rod, on the other rod, tie up like a drop shot, a wacky rig, depending on the depth of water, Texas rig, some high percentage bait that catches fish everywhere, like a Texas rig Cinco will catch fish just about year round everywhere. So then start covering water. Whether you're on the bank, a kayak, a bass boat, anywhere, take your moving bait and start covering water, and until you start either hook catching fish or you start getting bit a lot. Then throw the other high percentage bait in there and fish it for about 10-15 minutes. If you start catching them, stay there until you don't. If you don't start catching them, keep covering water. And that's a simple way to effectively find fish. However, the other tip is look for visible cover. So a lot of people go out there and they'll just start fishing. Well, bass are a structure and cover oriented fish. They like structure and cover. Primarily they like lay down stumps, weeds. Those are kind of their favorite. Vegetation is their favorite, as well as hard like weeds, fallen trees, that kind of stuff. So if you go out and you look for those things, you look for fallen trees, you look for laydowns, you look for stumps, or you look riprap banks, weeds, look for easily visible cover. And if you see, look for easily visible cover, and that's where the bass should be. Also look for food. Once you find some visible cover, look around there, see if you can see signs of bluegill, shad, whatever the main vegetation in your lake is. Look for signs of that, or if the water's clear, look for bait fish. And if you find a spot, if you find visible cover and you find bait, then the bass should be there as well, depending on time of year. Which leads us to tip number 3, I think. Whatever the time of year is, learn about the calendar periods for bass. Calendar periods are the different times of year, and learn about what the bass are going to be doing at different times of year. For example, if it's spring if it's mid to late spring, look, the bass should be spawning. They should be somewhat up on the flats in shallower water, either some building nests and most guarding nests, and that is where they're going to be, up on flats that have some weeds on them, building nests or sitting on nests. And in relatively shallow water, they'll be pretty aggressive and quite easy to catch. So that's just an example of how to really figure out where they're going to be at different times of year. Learn about that. Learn where they're going to be in the spring, the summer, the winter, the fall. Learn what those are called, the calendar periods for bass. That simply means you're learning where bass should be, where bass are pretty much going to be at the different times of year, and what they're relatively going to be doing all across the United States. That goes for cold areas, that goes for hot areas. Anywhere, calendar periods are still relatively the same, even though when that calendar period could change a little bit. Those are really the 3 simple ways to find bass very quickly in any body of water anywhere. And relatively, that just kind of goes for fish in general. If it's a structure and cover oriented species, which most fish are, that's how you can find them. That can go for a tiny farm pond, or that can go for the ocean. Obviously, some things change, but I think you get the gist. So to review them, the first thing you want to do, cover water. Put on your favorite moving bait and your favorite high percentage bait on 2 different rods, and have them ready. Fish, cover water with the moving bait when you start getting bites, so you hook a fish, then fish that area for about 10 minutes with your high percentage bait. As well as look for visible cover and look for bait, look for food. If you can find a spot that has visible cover, so lay down stumps, logs, riprap, weeds, etc. If you can find a place that has visible cover that you can see and food for the bass should be there. And then learn about the calendar periods of bass so you know where they're going to pretty much be throughout the year and what they're going to be doing. Once you've learned those 3 things, it'll be a lot easier for you to find fish in a body of water just about anywhere. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that helped you. Get out there and catch some more fish.